Oh, I need this. It's been one of those days. It's been very much one of those days. Hold on. Did I just tilt that the right way or did I just make it worse? Nope, I just made it worse. Made myself even more off center than I already was. There we go. Ah. Ah. This has been one of those days where, like, there was so much that I was going to get done. And it wasn't even like a matter of like executive dysfunction. I just badly underestimated how long one of the main things I had to do was going to take. And so nothing else got done. And technically, I didn't even finish that thing. Pretty sure that's liquor. It's actually not, Ms. Wicked Wolf. It's wine. Wine is not liquor. Wine is alcohol, but not all alcohol is liquor. Recently started doing workout sessions before bed. Beforehand, I came up with a few things I decided to give myself permission to skip it for. Watching your stream is one of them. I mean, the stream only happens every 2 weeks, so that's not too bad. I mean, do you, let's see. Do you need a workout buddy? You know, you can motivate each other. Oh. Yeah. What's the difference between an alcohol and liquor? Liquor is the harder alcohol. So like beer, there's beers and ciders, and it has to do with the percentage of alcohol that it is. And it might also have to do with the way it's made. I'm less certain about that. But there's like beers and ciders. That's one thing. There's liqueurs, which are flavored and are stronger than beers or ciders, and I think slightly stronger than most wines, but not that strong. Liquor is where you start getting into the actual hard stuff. Like vodka is liquor. Wine is just alcohol. I made it to live stream. I may fall asleep, but it's not personal. Heck, you know what? There's a part of me that's screaming, you should be taking a nap. So I completely understand. So welcome to the alcohol education stream. Apparently, I'm giving lessons on the differences. Like I think I could be wrong about this, but I think once you hit 40 proof, you're talking liquor. And then 40 proof and up, because like liqueurs are more in your 20 to 30 proof range, which wines can also exist in. So I think there's also like can be a difference in how it's made or what goes into it. I don't know all the ins and outs on this. I was gonna say I went to bartending school, except they taught me how to mix drinks. I didn't get it. I didn't get a particularly detailed education on the history of the damn things. Have you seen the show with Elle Fanning called Margot's Got Money Troubles on Apple TV? Nope, I don't have Apple TV. The only Apple TV show I've seen was, God, what's it called? Severance. And that was because my boyfriend got a subscription specifically to watch that show, and then we watched both seasons, and he let it lapse. So I do not have access to Apple TV. If it's on Apple TV, I haven't seen it. First live stream of yours I've been able to join. I'm very happy, made my day. Currently sick right now. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Stormy. I hope you feel better soon. I think ancient Roman wine was like 20 proof. That's why they watered it. Yeah, again, I can't actually give you too much of a history lesson on it. Although alcohol is one of those funny things that, like, virtually every society comes up with their equivalent, some kind of alcoholic thing, which is weird when you think about it, because it is poison. And yet, virtually every society on the planet came up with its own bespoke drinkable poison somewhere along the line. Are pet rats soft, annoying, and spoiled? Actually, they get less soft. They're soft when they're young. The hair gets a little bit more wiry when they're older. They're not annoying. They can be a little needy sometimes in terms of attention. And yes, of course they're spoiled. All pets are spoiled. All pets should be spoiled. If you're not spoiling your pet, well, then I hope it's a working pet, like a service dog, or a sled dog or something. Because otherwise, you should be spoiling your pets. Bespoke drinkable poison would be a great band name. Wouldn't be too bad. That could work. I'll add it to the list of fake band names to put in a book one day. I think I do actually have a list somewhere. I remember what my favorite one is, which I'm not even sure I want to say in case somebody steals it. But then again, like, I intend to use it as like a fake band, so maybe it'd be fine. What's your most anticipated movie you're looking forward to next? I don't even remember what's coming out this year. I don't remember being excited for any movies coming out this year. I suppose I could pull up the list of what's coming out and we could see if anything makes me go, oh, right, that one. So maybe, let's see. 2026 in film. American films. Here we go. So let's see with what hasn't come out yet. Do your rats boggle? Of course. Boggle and they brusque. A lot of hunter-gatherer societies don't have alcohol. It's often a byproduct of crops. Interesting. I actually didn't know that. That makes sense, though. Yeast and all that nonsense. Okay, so we're past... We're pretty much done with April. So what is coming out? I do not care about The Devil Wears Prada 2. That Animal Farm animated movie looks absolutely atrocious. I don't really care about Mortal Kombat 2. Like, the first one was fine. This one smells a little bit more of desperation. Maybe Obsession will be good. I ain't rushing to the theater for it. Mandalorian and Grogu, go to hell. I do not care. What else we got? Backrooms, that's a wait for streaming for me. Masters of the Universe, bleh. Scary movie. Bleh. Jeez, Toy Story 5. Oh, God, why? Oh, Supergirl. There we go. That's the next movie I'm actually looking forward to. Supergirl. So that's what? That's June 26th. That's when the next movie I actually am excited to see comes out. Okay? So there's one. What is there after that? Enola Holmes 3. I'll want to watch that. I do enjoy those. Again, that's not like a emergency thing. Spider-Man Brand New Day. The trailers don't really give me much to go off of. That one, at this point, I feel like I'll watch that one more out of obligation. Yes, I am just scrolling through the rest of the year at this point. No. Oh, Paw Patrol movie. Coyote versus Acme. By the time it actually comes out, it might have slipped to I'll wait for streaming. Just because, I'd be mostly seeing it just to spite Warner Brothers. Practical Magic 2. That's not a rush out to the theater, but I will want to see that eventually. Oh, right, the new Resident Evil movie. That doesn't really have a proper trailer yet. That's a show me a trailer one. I am ignoring the chat and just scrolling through the entire year. I should stop. I might as well finish it off. Street Fighter. Okay, I might actually go see Street Fighter. The trailer that came out was gloriously stupid. Clayface I'm curious about. I'm intrigued. Excited might not be the word, but I am intrigued. Hunger Games, don't care. Oh, got Fokker in Law. Come on, man. Avengers Doomsday. That's a obligatory watch. They're doing a third Angry Birds movie? Good God, what? They're doing another Jumanji? Oh, dear God. What are we doing? What are we doing? Ooh, Robert Eggers is doing a werewolf movie. I can go for that. There you go. Good grief. Reminder, because I didn't say at the start, while I will try and keep up with the chat, the only thing that will guarantee that I see and respond to your question or comment is to do it as a super chat, which will also get you the little gay heart of appreciation from me. So there's your incentive to, spoil me. Your hair's gotten longer. Yeah, hair does that. I inflicted my child on society. Pets are just for me. That's nice. I like that. Excited for Godzilla -0. Oh, that one didn't show up on the list because that was a list of American movies, and I don't know if it has an American release date yet. I will want to see that. I am nervous about it for the same reason I am nervous for any amazing movie that does not demand a sequel. Like, obviously, Godzilla lends itself to sequels because it's always had sequels, but, like, Godzilla -1, that specific story does not demand a sequel, and I am hopeful but very nervous. I'm nervous for the same reason that I get nervous whenever a new season of TV has, like, a new show on TV has an amazing first season. I'm like, it's all downhill from here. You know what I mean? Warner Brothers aren't distributing Coyote versus Acme. I know. That's why I would go to see it, to spite them. Shaun the Sheep, Beast of Mossy Bottom. I haven't seen any of the Shaun the Sheep movies. I used my kiddo used to watch the show when they were young. There was a second Angry Birds movie. Yeah, there was. My kiddo still cared about going to more kids movies when the second one came out. That was probably on the tail end of them caring about that, and they liked the first one. I barely remember anything about the second one. What's your favorite animated movie / series? I mean, my favorite animated movie is Nimona. Series, I don't know. There's a lot. There's a lot that are great. It's going to be a Zelda movie later in the year, too. Is that actually coming out this year? I know that, like, there was a leak of the first poster. Is that actually due out this year? Or is that next year? Ted Lasso is the 4th season on Apple TV, but I guess you don't have Apple TV. I don't. And also, like, nothing I've seen about Ted Lasso makes me think that show is for me. I feel like it would just be another instance of me giving it to peer pressure to watch something that everybody else says is great, and then I feel like an asshole because I'm going, it's okay, I guess, and then I just feel like I'm dragging everybody down. I don't like doing that. Which movie are you more interested in watching, Mortal Kombat 2 or Street Fighter? Oh, Street Fighter. Easily. Like, here's the thing. Mortal Kombat 2, that trailer is kind of leaning into the absurdity of what it's doing in a way arguably similar to the Street Fighter movie, except the Mortal Kombat 2 one is a sequel, meaning they're trying to course correct, which is what I meant when I said that feels like they're floundering and a little bit more desperate, whereas Street Fighter is just coming out the gate owning the absurdity, and I'm a little bit more into that. Have you seen The Amazing Digital Circus? I have. I'll be seeing the finale in the theater when that hits. Yeah, Spaceball's the new one. I know about that. That's next year, though, I think. Studio Ghibli make the best animated movies. Studio Ghibli is very consistent. But you know, I don't marry myself to studios, or at least I try not to, because this is gonna sound kind of conspiratorial. That's how they get you. They want you to go, oh, this studio makes the best movies. The studio doesn't make anything. The studio hires artists who make something. And sometimes you have studios that, for a time at least, are guided by business and artistic principles that lead them to hire and then let cook very good artists. But the studio isn't anything. The studio is an office. So I try not to pin my hopes on studios, not Disney, not Pixar, not DreamWorks. Like, I'll talk about them as entities, and I might even make some sweeping categorizations and statements about them, but it is just usually about the current state or how they've shifted. I don't have faith in any studio, not even Ghibli. What are your thoughts on watching that Avatar movie that leaked? I have no dog in that race. I'm not a fan of that franchise, so and I don't really want to get into it because some of the conversation around that actually sparked a video that I've already shot, but probably won't come out for some weeks yet. Also, apparently Incredibles 3. God! Was Incredibles 2 not already bad enough? Oh. God, that movie sucked. I feel like people were kind to it because, like, in the strictest sense, it wasn't like the worst thing ever, but God, it's such a step down. It's not even close. Might go see the new Resident Evil movie purely because Zach Krieger is director. I mean, that's why I'm at least curious enough to want to see a trailer, but I do want to see a trailer. I rent/buy my movies and TV shows on YouTube. Works out way cheaper, and there's not much that isn't on here. Well, I mean, I have too many things that, like, I need access to pull from. Like, if I was just watching for my own enjoyment, I'd probably ditch some of the stuff that I have. But, you know, I need to be able to pull clips from a lot of stuff, which complicates matters. And while even if I have it on physical media, it's easier to pull clips from streaming. And also, like, I will on occasion rent digitally. I try very hard to not buy digitally because I know I'm not actually buying anything and I don't own it and they can take it away at any point. At least when I rent it, that's the actual agreement. If I want to buy something, I want it physical. I gotta figure out this anachronism boy. There we go. I don't know why. I'm tired. I was gonna say I don't know why that was hard for me to sort. I do know why. I'm tired. Thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate you immensely. I remember having a lot of babysitting gigs around the time the Emoji Movie came out, and when I tell you I had to watch that movie like 100 times, oh, I'm sorry. Do you think the Paramount Warner Brother merger will not go through? No, it will. It's absolutely going to go through. The only hurdle left is to clear the regulators, and this goddamn administration is going to stop a business merger? No, of course it's going to go through. There's a teaser for Rogue Trooper, Duncan Jones's next movie. I saw that. Like, it's an adaptation of something, right? Because, like, I remember checking the comments on that teaser, and they were like, I can't believe it, like, I'm seeing this. And I'm like, it was a very generic teaser. Like, so it must be an adaptation of something. Because otherwise, there was nothing in that teaser to get excited for. And honestly, if you want to look at Duncan Jones's filmography, that should also tell you there's not really anything to get excited for. I feel like he's still being given the benefit of the doubt on the basis of Moon, and I don't know why. He burnt that goodwill ages ago. I have no idea why people still think he's going to make another good movie. The first Shaun the Sheep movie is exceptional. The second is good, but not as good as the first. Well, fair enough. There are some places that sell you stuff without DRM. No one can take away my way too many TTRPG PDFs. I mean, okay, yes, when it's something that you can purchase and truly download and like store on your own, server or drive or whatever, that is a little bit more permanent than a lot of these digital purchases are. I still prefer physical. Like, it's not even a question. But, excuse me. Don't know if you mentioned it, but there's also a new Jackass movie coming out. I didn't mention it because I don't care. I think Rogue Trooper is an AD. Oh, that's right. That's right. It's a 2000 AD property. I saw that in the comments. I just couldn't remember that. Okay. So yeah, it's an existing thing. That's why there's any excitement around it. Coyote Azul, thank you for the super chat. Rogue Trooper, yes, is a comic from 2000 AD. Considered one of their classics along with Judge Dredd. Well, I hope the people who care about it get a movie they enjoy. I know nothing about it. And that teaser, speaking as someone who didn't know what it was, gave me nothing to care about. Didn't he also direct Source Code? Yeah. But it was... Source Code is a decent movie. It does not... For a movie that really feels like it wants to be thought of as a very intelligent movie, it fails to examine a lot of its own premise. And, like, you can get away with that. Like, you can have an under-examined premise, but it depends on your tone. And when your tone is, we're being real clever about this, which is kind of the energy of a lot of Duncan Jones's movies, if I'm being honest, then I'm less likely to give leeway on that. You know what I mean? Oh, absolutely. I prefer physical, but I'm not sure I have room in my house for the number of TTRPGs I purchased and played over the past few years. Fair enough. Those books take up a lot of space. Did you like 2012's Dredd? Of course I did. Of course I did. I'm a human being. Why wouldn't I? Did you hear that someone wants to adapt Django and Zorro team comic into a film? Nope. But, like, until there's a trailer, I don't care. Like, the number of things out there that either, like, are being released, are coming up, or already exist, that have had somebody say, ooh, I want to make this movie, or even bought the right. Do you know how many comics, mangas, novels, etc., have had their rights bought and then literally nothing happens? So, saying somebody wants to adapt this is true of like 80% of media released by major players. And I say that because, like, it's not true of indie stuff, but like if you have a book released by a major publisher, if you have a comic that was put out by DC, Marvel, or, well, those ones are kind of automatically owned. But if you have a comic put out by, let's say, Image, somebody has probably bought the rights to it and then never made anything. Not like they weren't intending to. They probably were, but like this stuff doesn't get financed. Any songs you listen to when you are depressed? Mine is Promise of the Forgotten from Silent Hill 2. I don't have a specifically depression playlists, so I'm not really sure how to answer that. My YouTube was stuck on the waiting for page for 10 minutes. I thought you were late, so now I have to watch 2 times speed to catch up. Well, I'm glad you made it, old web shooter. Supreme Omega! Thank you very much for the super chat. I like the second Cap film, but there's a horror to comic Winter Soldier that can't be replicated because Bucky was still a kid when he got brainwashed. Yeah, that was an aspect that was very much lost. Biff isn't used. I'm pretty sure that, I don't know if it's still true, but I know that, like, Richard Moore's, it is Richard Moore, right? That is, oh, God, it's been too long since I've read the book. Hold on. Christopher Moore. No, Richard Moore's the comic book artist I like. Same last name. Christopher Moore, I don't know if it's still happening with his newer stuff, but like he had a period in time where like his first 7 or 8 books all got optioned for movies. Nothing was ever made. Then you get the stuff made so some company won't lose the rights. Not usually with smaller one-off stuff, but with anything that's a franchise, yeah, you get an ash can product. That can still happen. Remember you saying in the past that your mother also watches Doctor Who. What is her opinion on the current RTD2 era? I don't know if she has watched all of the new stuff or not. She might have. She didn't tell me what she thought. Who's your favorite Amazing Digital Circus character? Bubble. Sorry, I like the Chaos Gremlins. Sounds sticky. I suspect the new Spider-Man movie is going to make me viscerally socially embarrassed because of the implication Peter will be stalking the friends who forgot him. I mean, we'll see, potentially. If you saw my trailer reaction, which, yes, you do have to be a YouTube member or Patreon supporter to have seen, but, like, depressed, mopey Peter is canonical and accurate, and also my least favorite Peter. I feel that times have been really tough for the past year and a half. And the things that are keeping me going are reading books and watching movies and shows I love. Hey, whatever keeps you going, for sure. Have you seen any episodes of the Sarah Jane Adventures? I swear I get this question like every couple months. I have. I saw most, if not all, of the first season. I might have watched all the first season. I didn't keep watching. I wasn't in the age bracket for it. It was made for grade school age. It's not like how people will say, oh, Doctor Who's a kid show. It's not. It's a family show. It's made for a wide range. Sarah Jane Adventures was made for just the grade school age. And I was too old to have that particularly appeal to me. Tara Bryn, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it immensely. Just popping in to say hi. Hi. I missed the past few streams. As far as your comment on studios earlier, the one studio I'm attached to is a development studio, Larian. Well, I won't get into the issues that have existed with that studio in the last year or so, thanks to their jackass CEO who thinks AI is a good idea. Stock of doing minor stuff just to keep the rights immediately brings to mind Warren Beatty and his Dick Tracy mock interviews on TC. Yeah, I know. Those like that honestly might be one of the few remaining true ashcan products, because there's a reason why that was something that he got the rights to in the 80s or something, because it's an older contract with older terms. Things these days have much tighter clocks for how long you can just dick around before the rights reverse. Anyways, I am going to check the Discord, and I will be back in a couple of minutes. I'll burn through these as quickly as I can. Reminder, the Council of Geeks Discord is a Patreon exclusive. I think YouTube members get it as well. I'd have to double check. I think I have that set up. But anyways, $2 or more support gets you access to the Discord. Lovely community, great people, and we keep each other sane, mostly. Broad comedy or dark comedy? I don't know what the definition of broad comedy actually is. Like, it's like slapstick? Like, I understand intellectually the general concept of comedy meant to have a wide appeal, but like, I don't know what that is. And also, I'm a comedy snob, as I've been told to my face repeatedly. So, but I'm also insanely picky about dark comedy. So many dark comedies are just mean. They're not funny. They're just mean and bitter and spiteful and edgy. And how about we say neither? And I go and watch a noir movie instead. I don't know why I picked noir. Just pulled that genre out of my ass. Anyways, let's see. Feel free not to answer these, as I heard you might make a video on the Amazing Digital Circus when it's over. What do you think of the fan theory that Jax is an egg/trans person who hasn't figured it out yet? Now, interesting, in the question, this person actually said trans femme. The version that I'd heard was trans mask. And like, that's why Jax doesn't want to go back, because in the digital world, he is closer to what he views himself as, whereas he's not in the real world. It is a solid theory. I'm not going to judge it as like accuracy, because I don't care if fan theories are accurate, and I have no investment in whether or not they are. Conceptually, at least the version of it that I've heard, it's a sound bit of fan theory. It's a very cool headcanon. Is there a character in the Amazing Digital Circus you relate to the most? Relate to? Not sure about that. Nobody off the top of my head. No, not really. I still enjoy it. I don't need to be able to relate to all the characters to enjoy a thing. I love your fan video edits on Breakroom of Geeks. Disregarding any potentially already planned, is there any song and fandom combo you haven't done that will go really well together? Well, I had wanted to do at least one more She-Ra one. I wanted to do one focusing on Scorpia, using the song Cruel by the Veronicas to sort of construct this sense of like her feeling left behind by Catra as Catra keeps going after Adora, which I know is not how it plays out in the show, but I was real curious to see if I could construct that narrative using that song and picking the right clips, but it's off Netflix now and it hasn't popped up anywhere else. So I don't know if I would have gotten around to that eventually anyways, but other than that, no. Like, when I have the idea and it really sparks something, I tend to do it real quick before it like becomes a back burner idea. Like the Nimona one I did happened very quickly. Because I had the idea, I'm like, I want to do that. And then it was done in like an afternoon. Oh God, okay. More involved questions. Here we go. How do you feel about fictional stories that depict believing in conspiracy theories or pseudoscience as a thing in an otherwise normal/rational person can do? The main character in the book I'm reading is a cryptid investigator that seems otherwise reasonable. This bugs me a little because in real life, people who seriously believe in that kind of stuff usually have a lot of erroneous beliefs, often very dangerous ones. Everything is specific and comes down to presentation. Characters are allowed to have quirks. I don't think that like having a character who is a cryptid investigator or who, believes in aliens or ghosts is inherently a bad thing. But when it starts being presented as specifically elaborate conspiratorial thinking, that it's not that you can't do it. It's that I grew up, with X-Files in the 90s. I grew up into a world where a lot of media for a long time treated conspiracy theorists as harmless kooks who maybe even had a point. But now, since then, I've had to live through watching conspiracy theorists tear the goddamn world apart. And I don't find it cute anymore. So how I feel about a character having a conspiratorial mindset depends entirely on what the narrative expects me to think about them and whether or not the narrative is interrogating that. You said you were reluctant to pick Stargate SG-1 to do on the podcast because you'd be doing it for like 4 or 5 years at least. Why is that a bad thing? I mean, wouldn't it be good not to have to think about another new show for a long time? It's a bad thing because I don't know if the commitment of time will match my enthusiasm for it. I don't want to go so far as to say I am expecting it to be a situation like with Battlestar Galactica where 4 seasons in, I kind of hate it. I think I'd probably be softer on SG-1 than that, but I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it enough to want to commit to, 11 seasons plus 4 seasons of Atlantis and 2 seasons of Universe and some movies. Like, that for a show that my suspicion is I'm going to think is, oh, that's nice and fun. That's a lot of time to sink into something that I'm just like, oh yeah, that's nice and fun. It's a big commitment, and I am just inherently going to be reluctant to commit to something that goddamn long. Does capitalist recoup? Oh, Jesus. Okay. Does capitalist recuperation mean making any fiction with leftist messaging a waste of time? Jesse put out a video about how revolutions are depicted in Hollywood fiction and got me thinking about this. No! Just because if it gets filtered through Hollywood and corporatism and capitalism, it will result in a watered down and incomplete message does not mean it's not worth doing. It is better to have an incomplete or slightly diluted message of revolution and leftist messaging than it is to have none at all. So is it a waste of time? No, it's not. But we also shouldn't settle. That's the point of Jesse making videos like that. It is a common belief that Doctor Who is at its best when it has a low budget. However, in one of his videos, Josh Snares hit back at these arguments, claiming that filmmaking is expensive and low budget stifles creativity, not increases it. Which side do you agree on? Here's what I'm going to say. I think I lean in the direction of disagreeing with Josh because I think there is stifling that happens from low budget and lack of resources and from access to whatever resources you want. Because the lack of filtering and the lack of refinement that happens when you can just do it all in a computer, I think is very evident, not just in Doctor Who, but in a lot of media. And at the same time, I do think there's a lot of really wonderfully inventive stuff that comes out of limitations. I think the truth is to be in the middle is usually best. And this is why I tend to bemoan the loss of the mid-budget movie. Every movie that comes out now, it's either made for 30 million or less or 100 million or more. Nothing's made for 60, 70 million anymore, which is a really beautiful range for like a movie. I know we started talking about a show, but let me go here. I'm on a rant now. That's a really gorgeous range for a movie because it's enough of a budget that you can have a couple of really spectacular things that you couldn't do on a low budget, but it's not so much of a budget that you throw out, structure, everything else, because you're like, we can do whatever we want. It is a good, just here's enough that you can do some cool stuff, but not so much as you can just stop paying attention to your limitations. So I actually think the ideal is in the middle, which is unfortunately where nothing exists anymore. Everything is either very high budget blockbuster stuff or incredibly tight budget, if not indie, at least we are paying as little as possible for this because even if it's a hit, it won't be a big one kind of stuff. And there's no middle ground anymore. And the middle ground is, I think, where the best stuff exists. I think either one is a problem, but if you told me Doctor Who either had to have a very bloated budget or a very limited budget, I would pick a very limited budget. If those were the only two options, that is where I would land. So it's not that he doesn't have a point. I just am not prepared to go with him. Why do you think people are so quick to dismiss something as being AI even when there's no evidence of it being AI generated? I ask because recently there's been leaks coming out about the new Alex Garland Elden Ring movie, and I've seen a lot of real photographs and film set footage being discounted as being AI, even when they are all consistent with one another and have been posted by reliable sources. Because God. This is actually, I don't know if you realize what a philosophical can of worms you just opened with that question. The existence of AI, especially as it has become more convincing and harder for people to spot, its existence alone results in this. And it is compounded by the fact that something like Elden Ring as a movie is exactly the kind of thing that 1.5 million generative AI slop users will use it to create. So they go, oh, this is what the movie would look like, and they just throw it out there and claim, oh, this is real. And some people are over aggressive in their policing and their labeling of things of AI. I'm not saying they aren't, but I don't think that is, I think that is an understandable reaction given the state of everything. We have built machines that lie. And so as a result, way more people are way less willing to believe something that could have been made by the lying machine. And I don't blame them. I don't. I'm at that point, honestly, with cute animal videos, like on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. About half the time, I'm like, this is cute, but this seemed, and it's not impossible, but it seems so improbable that you'd capture this so perfectly that I am left wondering if it's AI. Not necessarily deciding it definitely is, but I am left wondering, which diminishes the joy that I might have had at seeing a thing that maybe is even real. AI dilutes the experiences of life. It makes you question, and all it has to do is exist. Because you either have to start becoming someone who will do like what you did and compare the things and see that they're consistent and check on the sources and see if they're reliable. You either do that for everything, or you live with the doubt, or you start dismissing more stuff. And none of those three options are anything that should be happening. I'm okay. I saw in a recent poll that as many as 31% of people say they side with the Punisher over Daredevil. Do you think this is a failure of the show for not showing the Punisher as being an unambiguously bad person, or do you think it's a sign of the general public having generally become more supportive towards the idea of people taking the law into their own hands? It's the former. People are no more or less into the idea of people taking actually, I would say that societally, people are probably less into the idea of taking the law into their own hands than when the Punisher really hit his heyday in the 80s and 90s. I would say people are way less into that idea. I think it's a failure of presentation because, yeah, the shows... Look, I've said this before. I don't like the John Barenthal Punisher. And it's not because of him. I don't like the way they write him. I don't like the way they approach him. I think the tweaks they've made to the character and his backstory make him worse and less effective. I think a lot of the people working on it don't get him, or at least they don't get what I think works about the character, which is admittedly a matter of taste. But I don't like this version of the Punisher. I stopped liking this version of the Punisher basically about 5 or so episodes into season 2 of Daredevil on Netflix. I was like, I actually don't like this. So, yeah. But that's what we're stuck with now. And I am back into the main chat. Ooh, we got super chats. CM Mosher. Let's see here. Thank you very much for the super chat. First of all, I've been listening to your Babylon 5 podcast. Funny you mentioned your love of noir now that I am in the Garibaldi as a PI episodes. There's some rough stuff in season 5 of Babylon 5, but that show was a joy. To go through it and get deeper into it and realize how well it was handling its themes and how thoughtful it was about so many things that so many other shows are often very not careful about. That show's so good. It's not perfect, but it's so good. Battlestar Galactica is just... Oh! God! If you want to hear me have more fun, listen to the Babylon 5 podcast. If you want to hear me slowly lose my mind, listen to the Babylon 5 podcast. No, sorry. Listen to the Battlestar Galactica podcast. Blah, blah, blah. To quote my favorite character from The Amazing Digital Circus, Tara Bryn back again. Thank you very, very much. Sven Vinky of Larian eventually reversed his position on AI after backlash, from what I understand. Took a little while, but he did eventually listen. That's good. I still don't trust him. Like, here's the thing, and like, I'm not trying to put a dent in your enthusiasm for the corporation, for the studio, for the company, or for anything that they make. However, I always remember these things, and while I may be willing to engage with the output of a studio following something like that, if they backtracked, I will never trust them again. Because something like that, to me, reveals what he would have done and maybe even wants to do, but realized he can't get away with. The fact that he backtracked, to me, is not proof that he saw the error of his ways. It's proof that he realized this is not the time or this is not the method. Not that he actually changed. And maybe he did. Maybe I'm being unfair. I'm in my 40s. I care way, way, way less about giving a fair shake to CEOs. So, if I'm being unfair, I don't care. Coyote Azul, thank you for the super chat. Garth Ennis said it best. Punisher is a serial killer, and he wrote him as such. It is funny. Garth Ennis's work on the Punisher is about the only time he works for me as a writer. I don't like Garth Ennis, but his stuff on the Punisher, especially Welcome Back, Frank, and Punisher Born. Those are real good. Those are really, really good. Have you and Jesse decided whether to watch the original Battlestar Galactica in the 1981? Have we decided? Yeah, we always knew we were going to do that. We said that when we started. Jesse, so here's something interesting in this Battlestar Galactica episode, Vera. I'm glad you managed to get something out of this. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, honestly, I'm just glad that she still sees more value in the show than I do, because, God, I have to imagine the podcast would be unlistenable if we were both as down on it as I am. And, like, she'll readily admit her view on the show has soured quite a bit since doing this rewatch, but she will still defend it and defend a lot of stuff that I have no patience for anymore, if I ever did. And I'm glad. I'm legitimately glad, because God, if I was a listener, I wouldn't want to listen to something where both people are miserable. I wouldn't want that. Drew Lytle, thank you very much for the super chat. Fun random question. Favorite pizza toppings? I love a good white pizza, but they're hard to find. If you can find a good white pizza, then yeah, like with especially if you can get like like tomato, garlic, onion on that. Yeah, good white pizza is great. A Hawaiian is a good safety pizza for me too. I saw the Strange New World season 4 trailer. I'm interested up until Kirk showed up at the end. I don't know if I'm gonna watch it. Like I really hated season 3. And I understand that was partially the strikes, but goddamn, God, Lucas Green, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate you. Would you ever do reviews of the first 2 seasons of the Daredevil show? Plus, do you have any interest in the Darth Maul Shadow Lord TV show? I actually, hang on just a quick second. Let me check something. Because I know I reviewed Daredevil season 3. Nope, that was the first one that I started properly reviewing. Okay, so I have no intention of rewatching either season, first 2 seasons, so that probably would fall under the if somebody commissions me to do it category. I remember really liking the first season, and I remember liking the first quarter of the second season, basically the first half of Frank's stuff, until they actually ended up in court, and then I started disliking it, and then I hated the second half of season 2. I hated it. It was so bad. Oh, God, it was awful. Oh. Yeah. Blah. Never heard the term white pizza. It doesn't have tomato sauce. Some places, a bad white pizza has no sauce at all. A good white pizza will usually have a little bit of a sort of a thin layer of maybe they'll do a cream sauce, maybe they'll do a garlic sauce. I need to watch more Battlestar Galactica before I can properly listen to the podcast, but have you and Jesse brought up Callie's actress being a trafficking cult member in real life? It has come up. We have not delved deeply into it, but it has come up. Sam from Cybus Industries. Don't get the upgrade. Don't get the upgrade, Sam. You don't want it. Take Two Disney Who reviews coming when? Probably next year. At a guess. That's not a promise. That's a guess. Weird pizza topping I like is shaved Brussels sprouts. Huh. They would depend on how they were prepared, because fried Brussels sprouts are great. Supreme Omega! Thank you very much for the super chat. In your view, what led to decrease in focus on heroes' civilian lives and less emphasis on non-powered supporting casts? It can't all be the MCU's fault. I think there's a couple of reasons. I think the first is that secret identities went out of fashion. Pretty much any character who still has a secret identity is a legacy character where it's always been part of their deal, like Batman or Superman or whatever. But even though it is accepted with legacy characters, it's an aspect of superhero storytelling that's been mocked for a very long time. And I think as the generation of readers who were starting to mock the idea that nobody can recognize Superman as Clark because he puts on glasses, became the next generation of writers, they didn't want to write about, the civilian life of heroes. I think it is one of those things where it's a natural shift where a new generation of creators comes in who have their own thoughts and their own preferences, and they write what they liked to read. And I think over time, you just had a drift away from the civilian life because more and more younger writers were coming in and were saying, but that's the boring part. and then where once, you know, getting to see the hero in costume was like a treat you got at the end of something. At this point, seeing them out of costume is like, why? And it's just a shift in mentality that happens over time. It's not the MCU's fault. I will say the MCU kind of accelerated it by coming right out the gate and ending the first Iron Man movie with him dropping the idea of having a secret identity. And sort of that kind of put, right as superheroes were becoming far more mainstream, the mainstream face of superheroes said, yeah, we're not really going to do secret identities. And that also means that it shifts expectation of the audience, because that means that people who are starting to get into comics because they saw the MCU are reading these comics, and it's like, why do I have to read about Thor being this Donald Blake guy? What the hell is this? Because it's not a component that they brought over for the movies. And for the sake of the movies, that makes sense. But, and I'm not even necessarily saying that they weren't, that new readers wouldn't be willing to make that leap, but it's a fear that editorial has about this. That, and it's part of what led to the general overall drift of, especially in Marvel, bringing the comic book versions in line with the movie versions as much as they could. Which was something they'd done off and on even before that, but that really happened big time with the MCU, which, yeah, is kind of a shame. Favorite horror movie and why? The Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978 version, because it still messes me up. It still freaks me out. Been watching that movie for over 30 years, and it still messes with my head. Aaron, thank you very much for the super chat. That is incredibly generous. I appreciate you greatly. The original Galactica had the ball game Triad with its trauma-inducing costumes. Funny to watch, at least. See, here's the thing. I'm actually really excited to watch the original Galactica because I have no expectations of it. I'm going to go into it wanting some silly sci-fi fun, and that's what I expect. And if I get more than that, it'll be a pleasant surprise. Because Battlestar Galactica, you know, it just has that energy of, we're taking this serious, not like those silly sci-fi shows, and then, you know, stuck its head firmly up its own ass and completely failed to notice that it was repeating a lot of the stuff of the kind of things it thought it was better than. So I also wonder if part of the side character becomes power trend was also something to do with variant covers making a trend for a time. Spider-Gwen, kind of Gwenpool, MJ as both Jackpot and Venom, etc. Honestly, I'm a little tempted to put at least some of the blame on the Arrowverse. Because that, as the Flash especially, really felt like we are not allowed to have any normal humans. Like, even frickin' Buffy the Vampire Slayer knew to keep Xander as just a normal dude. But yeah, I think the thing is, I think over time, the assumption that there needs to be an everyman surrogate character, I think that notion got challenged. And I don't think that in and of itself is a bad thing, because I do think that that is often wrong. Like, I mean, this is part of why I argue I want at least one main Doctor Who companion who isn't from contemporary Earth. We can handle a freaking alien or somebody from the past or the future or something. But at the same time, like, these industries don't know how to do moderation. It's all or nothing. Either everything has, you know, some characters who are just the normal people, or nobody is. So, yeah. We are just about time to wrap this up. up. So thank you, everybody, for joining me. I hope this one was fun for you. I feel like it got heavy at a few points, or maybe I just got ranty. I don't know. You be the judge. But thank you very much for joining me. The gaming streams are still on hiatus and will be for the foreseeable future. I had a review go up in the break room of Geeks earlier today about the first couple of episodes of the Doctor Who spinoff Class. So you can check that out if you're interested. Saturday's video, which is what I'm currently editing, is about redemption arcs and how they are very tricky to manage. I'm actually kind of excited about this video, which probably means it's going to tank, because that's just my luck. But we'll see. We'll see. In any case, thank you very much for joining me. Take care of yourselves out there. I really, really mean that. Be well, be safe, be kind. Remember that you are beautiful, you are valid, and you are loved. You're the council. I am just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. McCavity!